Hi, good morning, Malcolm Nance. How are you?
Good morning.
Welcome to
Yeah,
Pardon Palooza. How are you?
it is a pardon palooza. You get a pardon and you get a pardon. You know what? But you still have to, I guess you still have to admit that you've committed a crime. You
Yes.
can't be pardoned when there's no indictments, there's no accusations, there's no nothing, right? Did you
Right.
guys touch on that earlier?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're saying. A blanket, what do they call it? A
Blanket pardon?
preemptive
Yeah.
part. I mean, that's what the
Yeah, for
legal
anything
experts
you
are saying.
might do.
But that's what the legal experts are saying, Malcolm. You're going to have to specify something in there so we'll go, oh, those are the other crimes we didn't know about
Yeah.
yet.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this isn't like when you go to confession and you're a 6-year-old and you have to sit in there making up some lie about, how you put a firecracker on the dog or something. These guys are, we are going to find out soon enough just precisely what they did do.
I mean,
And the problem is Donald Trump knows he won't be president when we find out.
right. But Malcolm, it all goes back to every book you've written because this is what I was saying about, Glenn Kirshner's tweets because I go right to, first of all, this was against Barr's objection that Judge Howell released this. So it wasn't like, oh, Barr's a good guy. It's no. It probably related, as Glenn said, to the Flynn pardon, right? It probably
Right.
started with the Flynn, which goes back to Trump, Russia, and the Mueller report and everything you've been writing about, right? So this is okay. So now we don't. Well, what is your take on all? Because it's pretty heavily redacted, but there's so many
You know what?
criminals. You're like, which criminals does this refer to? Is it Rudy? Is it like right?
I suspect Rudy Giuliani is the lawyer
Right.
in this. That's. And the funny thing is, I love the redactions. Blank, redacted name went to lawyer, redacted name who spoke to redacted name.
Redacted.
Blank, Giuliani, Trump. Okay,
When we can
that's
have-
not a stretch. You know what? I'm going to make a guess. You know who I think it is? Vladimir Putin. I think he's trying to get a pardon for Vladimir
Well,
Putin.
when we can have theater again, redacted the musical. Who's with me?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Every other seat will be empty.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to read to you what our friend Glenn Kirshner said. So he said, I'm heartened to see the FBI has been investigating bribery for presidential pardon schemes, crimes for many months now. And I'm glad Judge Beryl Howell decided to allow the public to see the heavily redacted documents, even though Barr's DOJ objected to their release. Anyway, goes on to say Barr's DOJ filed a motion demanding an immediate dismissal of Flynn's case based on Trump's likely corrupt pardon. Chief Judge Howell promptly releases legal documents over Barr's objection, disclosing a long-term bribery for pardon investigation. Coincidence? What is that thing you say about coincidence, Malcolm? I forget Nance's law again.
Nance's law. Coincidence takes a lot of planning, and apparently takes a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
To plan this supposed bribe back in August. What I love about the possibility of a bribe for a pardon in August is that whoever did this, and we're going to find out soon enough, wasn't planning on Trump winning the election.
Right.
They went back in August. And they were like, "Hey, can you hook us up with a pardon right now? Because November may be too late."
Yeah.
So we're going to find out who it is.
Yeah.
And this person supposedly wanted to make a very substantial political campaign contribution.
Right.
Right? I mean, so the only thing missing there is the name Donald Trump and the name of the briber.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So what I was going to say, speaking of like not knowing what was going to happen in the election, so I've asked you this, and it seems like Chris Krebs has answered this, is that in terms of at least even Russia, they did their job. Like they stopped, interference in this election. So, and by the way, I'm glad he said he hints at legal action against the Trump attorney who said he should be shot. He said, the way I look at it is that we're a nation of laws. I plan to take advantage of those laws. We're looking at all available opportunities. Good, because, Malcolm, you've been talking about the threats of violence. We had this Republican, Georgia official we just played who was furious at the death threats Republican Trump supporters are getting just for counting the votes or telling the truth about the fact that this was a free and fair election, right?
It's off the hinges. Like I said, I get up at 3 a.m. I start monitoring their chats from the previous evening, and it is unhinged. These people, I mean, they put all of their hopes on Sidney Powell,
Yeah.
and they're not seeing anything come out of, Mrs. Crazy Pants there. A person who really does need to be disbarred,
Yeah. Oh,
or
yeah.
as Joe Scarborough says, disbarred or sanctioned, we'll take each, because these are real trash accusations. And these trash accusations are now getting state elected officials with these death threats.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I suspect that as they start to realize Joe Biden is going to be declared the winner. And some of my favorite threads, and I know I shouldn't, apply a healthy dose of Schadenfreude to everything, but it's so delicious. These people are exploding as each individual conspiracy theory breaks up. They shift to another one.
Yeah.
So there's this one crew that's all about Dominion.
Oh, yeah.
And having sent over the servers to Germany, and then special forces raided a CIA server in Germany, according to a supposed military intelligence officer who came out on a right-wing podcast, said that they killed 2 CIA officers.
Right. Heard
and
that.
It's now the Defense Department against the CIA. And this morning's thing was everyone is going, the military will save us. I have some news for you. The military is not going to save you. And then there's the final crew, the dead enders, who believe that the Supreme Court is going to save them. And they're going to get this to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But the worst of all of them are this new thread that I've seen in the last few days, that the right wing is planning this constitutional convention in Georgia somewhere where they are going to call on Trump to impose limited martial law, use the United States military redo the election.
That's what Sidney Powell's been tweeting Trump should do. And Trump already did one of the things she called for, and that's to cancel the Georgia election, right? What's that?
Yeah, and they need to be disbarred for this. This is literally sedition.
Yeah, I keep saying that, Malcolm. It's like, don't mince words. This is sedition. They are trying to subvert our democracy. Let's talk, because you brought up Dominion. So Dominion CEO has responded. Trump and his supporters have attempted to undermine the results of the election for weeks, attacking Dominion voting systems despite a lack of evidence of widespread irregularities. The CEO just wrote a piece, I don't know if you saw it, Wall Street Journal, that highlighting easily verified facts about his company that render the president's claims completely false. He said the allegations against Dominion are bizarre, but I'll set the record straight. Dominion is an American company now headquartered in Denver. Dominion is not and has never been a front for communists. It has no ties to Hugo Chavez, the late director of Venezuela. It has never been involved in Venezuelan elections. He pointed out, in fact, across the 14 Pennsylvania counties that use Dominion systems, President Trump received 52.2% of the vote. I mean, you're right, Malcolm. One conspiracy theory after another, and it doesn't stop them. They're just like, oh, well, but then there's this other thing. It's like, what?
Well, let me tell you something. These guys were talking about an event that Biden did the other day, and it took place on Dominion Boulevard. I mean, they tie everything. And this is where you have that juxtaposition between crazy armed right extremists, mainstream Trump voters, and QAnon all coming together to where they were, 2 months ago, they were all pro-government, pro-military, pro-CIA. This week, they are all anti-government, anti-CIA, anti-FBI, and they're waiting for the military to come save them. This is now turning into a conspiracy theory in which every conspiracy theory, every fact that's presented is part of the conspiracy theory.
Right.
Or, as QAnon calls it, the plan, right?
Right. Well, but as you tweeted, radicalized Trump supporters, experts fear about what the far-right fringes will do now after the election. You tweeted, pastor urges Trump administration to shoot Democrats and journalists if they conspire to rig the election. And again, what this Gabriel Sterling, the Republican Georgia official, was just this white hot fury was about. He said it's all gone too far. Mr. President, you have not condemned these actions or this language. All of you who have not said a damn word are complicit in this. He said the president called Brad Raffensperger, who is a fine, upstanding, lifelong Republican, an enemy of the people. That opened the floodgates to this crap. There are some nutballs out there who are going to take this and say the president told me to do this. And as he keeps saying, someone is going to get shot. People's wives are getting text message threats. Their children, they're stalking Republican Trump supporters' houses.
And every one of those people out there who are discussing this out in the Trumposphere, they are all saying that those people are just libtards. They were communists or they're rhinos. Every one of them. The minute you oppose something on many of these right-wing threads on Parler and Wemo and all these other places, the first thing they say is, you've been getting you're a sheeple who gets your information from the mainstream media. As an insult. That's job one, is to insult you. Job two is to call you're a freaking Joe Biden communist.
Yeah.
Right? It's amazing to me how the word communist has come back into full parlance amongst these people, considering their boss literally exchanged love letters with a communist dictator and gets his marching orders from an ex-KGB officer. They don't see the irony in any of this.
Oh, this is where. What was our call this morning? I got a caller this morning. This is what I will take as a compliment now. He said, I just wanted to say that you are not as much a pinko communist as I heard you were.
Oh, yeah.
As they say you are.
As they say. Some people say.
What did Rush Limbaugh? Didn't Rush Limbaugh say you were kind of hot?
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm sure Glenn Greenwald would say I'm a neoliberal establishment hack. So what am I really? I'm whatever you see.
I feel terrible for these people because they're this wild combination of Nazis, Vikings, and, Lord Russ Bolton from Game of Thrones, right? If they had their way, they would sick dogs after all of us. I mean, what we're monitoring now, though, is dangerous, all joking aside. And I literally just rewrote the introduction to this new book and what I call the coming Trump insurgency in the United States, or Titus, is going to kick off with his announcement on Inauguration Day, as they're reporting now, that he is going to launch his campaign on 2020 for 2024.
He'll be a president in exile, a shadow president, right?
Like Saddam Hussein, right?
Yeah.
The litmus test will be which Republicans show up at his launch and who dares go to the Biden inauguration, which is fine because I'd like to be up on the Capitol steps for that one.
Yeah. Oh God,
what a time! My hotel rooms.
What a time! But no, Malcolm, you're really quite right. That I try not to think about it, but I have this just cold fear about what's going to happen between now and whenever it really occurs to them, whether it's December 14th with the electors or whatever, that this is over and they feel like the coup is complete. What happens? In the middle of a pandemic, is there going to be even more carnage? And it really is terrifying.
Yeah. And a lot of these people are rigged to fight. And there are people out there saying that. And, for every one person that's saying that, I really believe that there are 5 who would follow that person, out of every 100. But they live in an alternate reality. They live in an information bubble. What's fascinating to me, though, and this will educate your public, is that they say every word I've just said about liberals.
Yeah.
They claim that we're planning, martial law and mass murder and arrest, and that Antifa is coming into your house to see your sons and wife.
You know what just occurred to me? It's so funny you talk about this alternative, inauguration or, announcement of his run. So if we were able to steal this election when he's totally in control of the government, the Trump administration, the DOJ, tried to blow up the post office, did every voter suppression technique they could think of. How is it he thinks he's going to win fairly in 2024 then with a Biden administration in charge? I mean, it goes to show you he knows this was a free and fair election. Why would you be running again if you already think it's rigged against you during your administration, right? When you have all the levers of power. I mean,
well, it's their world, their information sphere says that this is the deep state. The deep state successfully carried out a coup. Every person is involved in the deep state. It's the New World Order. It's, the Great Awakening, all of these things, all in one place. Every fever dream, psychotic belief that the John Birch Society had in the 1960s is now going to be mainstream Republican dictum. And it is not going to be pretty. I mean, I want all of you to enjoy this little time of a breather, but you need to be prepared, which is why, Stephanie, you need to go visit need to go visit your ma.
Yeah, well, you need to stop risking your life for Bill Maher. Okay.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
He's family. I can yell at him. You shouldn't be flying unless it's an emergency. All right, I love you. Goodbye.